So you finished your first playthrough of Digimon Story Time Stranger, and now we're looking into tackling its hardest challenge thus far, the New Game Plus Mega Plus run. It requires careful planning, understanding of the game and battle mechanics, and sacrificing some things in the playthrough to be more efficient. What's up, girls and boys? What's up, internet? I am Bianca, and today's video, which is the first of my Mega Plus guide, I aim to provide as much information as I can with completing your own Mega Plus New Game Plus run, including team compositions, viable Digimon to use, the cross art you should have enabled, personality skills you should have on your team, and a couple of tips in the hopes of making this run as painless as possible for those who want to attempt to do it legitimately. All of these are things that I've learned over the course of my 150-hour playthrough. Now, before we begin, let's get a few things out of the way. First off, doing a New Game Plus run under the hardest difficulty the game has to offer, which you can only unlock after beating the game the first time around, isn't really required of any casual gamer, as it doesn't change anything in the game's story or its presentation. If you are, however, aiming to get all the trophies and achievements, then you are required to finish the game under this difficulty setting. Having said that, if you are a casual and want to still grab this trophy, because why not, then there is a workaround as of the time of this recording that you can use to obtain the achievement associated to the difficulty without having to do a majority of the work for it. To do that, you only need to start a New Game Plus run under the Mega Plus difficulty, and when able, switch to whatever difficulty you are more comfortable in. Play through the entire game as you see fit, but make sure to switch the difficulty back to Mega Plus prior to engaging with the game's final boss battle. If done correctly, you'll get your trophy upon beating said final boss. But if you want to test your mettle and understanding of the game and its mechanics, and want to see how well the Digimon you have in your team fares under these extreme settings, or you simply want to enjoy a good challenge, then keep the difficulty on Mega Plus throughout, and let's continue on with how we can prep for this challenge to make it as easy as possible. Second, in the Mega Plus difficulty, not only are the Digimon you encounter stronger with max levels and even mobs having some max out stats and all, but you also lose the ability to use items during battle. This gives an added challenge on survival and makes revival items useless. There is a workaround for this though, which we will be tackling in a bit. Third, as mentioned, the enemy Digimon all have max stats and max levels skewed one way or the other. Mobs usually have their attack and intelligence stats maxed out and are also much beefier than normal, even more so for the bosses you will encounter. As such, it would be a great idea to not only have a max team of your own, but also to avoid needless battles as much as you can. This means little to no detours. Fourth, everything you have gets carried over, not counting, of course, key items. That includes equipment, Digimon, your agent rank and skills, your field guide, everything. So if you are hoping for a fresh playthrough to, for whatever reason, really see how difficult Mega Plus is, then you should choose a new game rather than a New Game Plus run. Now that those are out of the way, let's talk about prepping for our New Game Plus Mega Plus run. There are a couple of things that you need and must have if you wish to complete this run in a legitimate manner. First, a maxed out team. Considering that your foes will be at their top form with maxed out stats, So should you. Mega and Mega Plus Stage maximum level Digimon should be what are on your team. I already provided a detailed guide on how to obtain max level and stats if you guys are interested. You also need to have all the agent skills unlocked, which means being in agent rank 10 or at the very least high enough to ensure you can digivolve to Mega Plus Stage Digimon, and also have personality-based agent skills unlocked. If you finished all post-game content prior to starting a New Game Plus run, then this shouldn't be an issue for you. Next, you need to ensure that your team is well equipped in terms of skills and attachments. In terms of skills, equipping your main DPS or attackers with fire, electricity, wind, dark, light, and magic or acceleration boost are great, considering most of the enemies commonly have those as weaknesses. And you may have noticed it as well, but a majority of them have holy, fire, or electricity weaknesses, with their attributes commonly aligning more to virus types and a couple of vaccine types here and there. Now, when it comes to tanks and supports or healers, skills ideal to them would be acceleration and spell boosts, X revives, X auras, safety guard, and character reversal. As for attachments or equipment, those depend on what Digimon you have and what their job in your team is. The most notable equipment you should have are multi-walls, Hiroko's hot perm rods, the Sky God's Thunderbolt, the Blue Steel Data Fragment, the War God's Brass Knuckles, and even some Sleep Walls and Death Walls. There are only a limited amount of these you can get per playthrough. Multi-wall, for instance, can only be obtained 3 times per playthrough, while Sky God's Thunderbolt could only be crafted twice per playthrough. Hiroko's Hot Perm Rods are a reward from completing her post-game side quest, and the Blue Steel Data Fragment is a story item you get upon obtaining Agemon's second evolution. In terms of personality skills, your healers should either have Great Embrace, as it pushes their healing over to 200%, giving your Digimon double their max health, or Fortifying Charge, which boosts the stats of the Digimon they are healing. Personality-wise, be sure to stick them to an overprotective personality. For your DPS or attackers, it depends on whether they specialize on physical or magical attacks. For physical attackers, give them stout strength and have them be under the brave personality. What this combination does is that it boosts their attack the higher their health is, while ignoring 3% of a target's defensive stat for each agent rank. For magic attackers, despite the unintended bug already patched, giving them combo magic is still a good idea, as this will give them a chance to cast their skills twice the lower their HP goes. You should also have them under the astute personality type, which with the appropriate agent skill will ignore 3% of their target spirit stat per agent rank. For tanks, giving them stout defense or stout spirit is also a good idea, except for one particularly tanky Digimon, which we will talk about in the next section of this video. Personality-wise, I like having them under strategic for added defense. Now, apart from those personality skills, another one that you should consider putting in your Digimon is Soothing Song. This skill would help with keeping your SP up, which is essential in prolonged fights, since you won't be able to use items during battles under the Mega Plus difficulty. Cheer is also a good personality, as it gives a boost to all Digimon's attack and intelligence based on the total bonds of all battle members, and at this point, you should have perfect bonds already. Planning ahead is also a viable personality skill under this difficulty, especially when combined with Cheer, as it reduces the defense and spirit of all enemy Digimon at the start of the battle based on the total bonds of all battle members. Song of Triumph is also good for clutch moments when you can use cross attacks, as this slightly boosts CP gained by the Digimon who has it. Unfortunately, this isn't really all that useful in the final battle as you lose all the ability to gain and use CP and also cross arcs. For more information on personality and personality skills, you can check out this video or head on over to our Coffee page for the written guide. Now, when it comes to cross arts, there are two viable options that you can choose. Revive, which as the name suggests, revives and slightly recovers the HP of all downed allies while applying guts on them, and High Field, which boosts the stats of all your allies for 3 turns while nullifying physical and magic attacks on them for 1 turn. Personally, I went with High Field as if timed correctly, you can cancel out a boss Digimon's special attacks damage should you run out of turns trying to break their guard before they could unleash it. Now, let's move on to team compositions. In Digimon Story Time Stranger, there are a total of 459 Digimon you can discover and use, not counting those that will come in future DLCs. As such, you have a myriad of options on Digimon to use for your run depending on your playstyle or perhaps on who your favorites are from the series. Having said that, I do have a couple of Digimon that I use for my Mega Plus run that you may want to add to your team as well. Now, typically for a Mega Plus run, you would want to have 2 DPS Digimon. One for physical and another for magical attacks. You would also want 2 healers, a support backup and your main one, a tank, and 1 specialty Digimon you can either use to zoom around the map in, who is also capable of holding their own or deal specific types of damage to specific enemies. For a physical DPS, I have Susanamon, Imperial Dramon Paladin mode, and Chronomon Destroy mode. For magic DPS, I have Mastamon, Lucimon Satan mode, and Grace Novamon. For support and healing, my main healer is Venusmon, who I think is the perfect one for the job with her special skills, while my secondary one is Rosemon Burst mode. I only have 1 tank that I use when I have to though, and that is King Etemon, who with the Monkey Wrench special attack can reduce all enemies' attack and intelligence stats for a turn while applying taunt on them. Of course, I also did add a couple of support skills on him to act as a backup healer as well, since you can never really go wrong with too much healing. Now, there is one other Digimon that I have as a special use one. A backup for all other backups that I call on when things feel a little bit harder, and is a very important Digimon to have for the final battle, especially if you don't want to take ages to beat the final boss. And that Digimon is Apocalypse, and you will see why in a little bit. First, let's talk about Susanamon, one of the strongest, if not the strongest lore-wise, Digimon from Digimon Frontier. So what makes Susanamon a good pick? Well, his Amano Habakiri has the following traits. It is light-based that doesn't take into account the affinity of the target Digimon. It means even if they aren't supposed to be susceptible to a light element-based attack, it would still do good damage. This makes him a great pick, especially with dealing with normal enemy mobs and boss battles that have them as well. Next, he also has Yakuza no Ikazuchi, which is an electricity-based physical attack, and I've already mentioned that electricity is a common weakness to the enemies in the game. Moving on to Imperial Dramon Paladin mode. He only has 1 special skill, Omniblade. But if you use him with King Etemon and Rosemon Burst mode or Mastamon, King Etemon can lower the enemy's stats, and Rosemon or Mastamon can lower the enemy's light resistance. Imperial Dramon Paladin mode's light-based Omniblade can then deal a massive damage. This team combo is pretty useful for bosses with the weakness to the light element. Chronomon Destroy Mode is another Digimon with double special skills. He has Holy Flare, which ignores physical resistances of the enemy Digimon that is also an AoE attack, and Chrono Devolution, which not only has a chance of causing crystallization on the enemy, but can also reduce attack, defense, intelligence, and spirit by 20%. What's more, Chrono Devolution does more damage the higher the enemy's health is. Being a virus type also means that most of the bosses, which are virus types, doesn't pose much of a problem with him. Mastimon is one of the favorites when it comes to beating Mega Plus, especially back when the stack overflow bug hasn't been patched. Despite this bug being squashed, however, Mastimon is still a pretty good pick as a magic-based DPS. She has 3 special skills. Chaos Degradation, which hits all enemies with increased damage on those with Holy Trait. Holy Desire, a light element magic attack that reduces light resistance and increases damage on those with Evil Trait. And Dark Despair, which is a dark element magic attack that pierces through the enemy's affinity and ignores their resistance. What makes her such a good pick is because of her 3 separate elemental attacks. With her specials, you have more flexibility in what attachment skills you may want on her. Lucemon Satan Mode has 2 really good special skills. One of them, Divine Atonement, is a light-based magic attack that has a 15% chance to apply instant death, while his fire-based Purgatorial Flame is very useful against those with a deity trait. Though he does end up a little bit weaker after the patch, he is useful for eradicating mobs, especially those that come with boss fights. Grace Novamon is like Massimon, but not nearly as strong. He has 2 specials, one fire, the other ice, which makes him great for variety, especially coupled with attachment skills. Attack-wise, he's somewhat similar to Omegamon, as his Eclipse Finger is just as strong as Transcendent Sword. However, his Kaldan Arcus is more powerful than Omegamon's, and if the enemy has any status abnormalities, that damage increases. So, paired with King Edamon, he can pack quite a punch. Venusmon is one of the best healers in the game, the other being Marine Angemon. The difference being she has Peace Fantasia, which although quite weak as an attack, has the added effect of reducing the attack and intelligence of the enemy by 30% for 3 turns. Her Love You Healing special skill not only heals more than enough, especially when combined with Great Embrace, but it also removes stat debuffs, of which the Mega Plus difficulty likes to sick at the player. Rosemon Burst Mode, on the other hand, has a special skill that recovers her HP and SP equal to 15% of the damage she dealt. This makes her not run out of SP. And with X Aura and X Revive, she does well as a healer that can double as an attacker as well. King Edamon only has 1 special attack, and that's Monkey Wrench, which, coupled with the booing personality, extends his debuffs on the enemies by 2 turns. Now, the final Digimon in my roster is Apocalypse, and he is one of the most powerful Digimon to have, even with his lone Darkness Zone special skill. Nay, it's precisely because of it that he is a must-have on your team. Why? Because Darkness Zone is a special skill that deals 20% of HP damage to the enemy, and it always hits. This makes the spongier enemies a little bit easier and makes battles quicker, especially if you have 2 or 3 of him in your front line. Granted, the damage this attack deals tapers off the lower the enemy Digimon's health becomes. Still, you can also turn him into another support Digimon or even a tank Digimon. These are just the Digimon that I have used on my team to complete this Mega Plus run. Again, there are hundreds of Digimon to choose from. So if you completed a run on this extreme difficulty using a different Digimon, feel free to share that information on the comment section down below. Okay, let's talk about tips now. The first and foremost important tip I can give you when doing a New Game Plus Mega Plus run is to focus on completing the main objectives rather than exploring this time around. Don't even bother with the side quests, save for a few that will reward you with the equipment I mentioned above, like multi-wall. You don't even need the experience at this point, especially if you did your experience and money grinding prior to starting a New Game Plus. It would just be a waste of time and you are just endangering yourself unnecessarily. Second, if you can't evade a mob on the map, then don't forget to use your Digi attack to get that preemptive strike. Third, if you end up with low HP and MP, make sure to stay still to trigger passive healing. Don't forget to save up your cross attacks for the boss battles too. Fourth, Digimon is going to be your weak link. And one of the most infuriating parts of the game is whenever you have to control him and fight as him with little to no backup. The workaround to this is having him equipped with the Holy Light Digital Fragment. This will have him start the battle as a Jachusmon Holy, which, although not nearly as powerful as the rest of your team, will be enough to survive his solo sides of the story. Also, stat wall or multi-wall if you have some extra, or just make sure to hand some over to him before his solo parts, and then just put those back with your main Digimon you borrowed it from afterwards. Fifth, when walking around the real world or anywhere you cannot Digiride in, remember that pressing the L3 button, which is your left analog stick, will make the agent run faster. You can also skip cutscenes you've already viewed, which will make your Mega Plus run take a shorter time. Same goes with increasing the battle speed. I know that's kind of basic, but it's one of those things that some people tend to easily forget. Seventh, there are times during boss fights the Digimon you are fighting with will prepare for a powerful attack. When this happens, you have two options. Either break the part you can now attack and prevent the powerful attack from hitting, or continue attacking the main part. Personally, I find that it's much better to focus on the main part rather than stop the special attacks from coming, as most bosses with the team that I have seldom, if ever, manage to fire off their powerful special attacks. And lastly, if you want to know prior to starting your New Game Plus Mega Plus run how well you can stack up against the Mega Plus enemies, you can up the difficulty on the options menu during your Olympus 12 farming and see how you stack up against them. This will give you a good gauge on how strong enemies are in Mega Plus and how well your team can hold on their own. So you can change it up, test it, and see before actually committing to the challenge. You can even make use of the final battle itself, upping the difficulty before triggering it to see how well your mons can stack up against the final boss. And that's it for today's video. For the second part of our Mega Plus guide, I will be talking about boss strategies under this difficulty setting. So don't forget to hit the subscribe and the bell icon if you haven't already so you don't miss out. If you have any additional tips you want to share with the rest of the community, I would love to hear it, and I'm sure the rest of the community would be appreciative of it as well. Anyways, that's all the time we have for today. Once again, I am Bianca, and I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, you guys know the drill. Dream on, fly on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Keep safe, everyone.